Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, instructional designers and educators. Welcome to episode 136 of the Designing with Love podcast. I'm thrilled to have Jennifer Cunningham with me today. Jennifer is an alumni engagement and nonprofit consultant who helps organizations build communities that give back. She works with colleges, universities, schools, and nonprofits to design practical engagement strategies that turn interest into involvement and investment. And I love that. On the flip side, she helps alumni tap into these communities to get the biggest return on their degrees and shared experiences. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you. This will be fun.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, especially with a lot of my students that love to listen and kind of hear what's the way that I can get the most, like I mentioned in the intro, the most out of my degree long after it's over. So that's really great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I should contact your alumni engagement staff at GCU and see the number of alumni who contact them go up after this episode. I would hope so.
Yes, that's a great idea. And then maybe I can share the link to them and just say, hey, you might want to listen to some of these strategies and see what you can do to improve it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because how many actually fill out the survey at the end of the program? Who knows? Right. It's hard to gauge that because they have surveys at the end of each program, or I'm sorry, at the end of each course for the students to fill out that's in their portal. And then they have a big one right at the end, right? That's supposed to kind of capture all of that. So yeah, I think that would help too if they got more engagement in the surveys as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love it. Yeah. So to start us off, Jennifer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and share what inspired you to focus on engagement and nonprofit consulting? Because I am a consultant myself, so I always love hearing about those who do consulting in different areas as well.
Yes. So I joke that I got my first job in alumni relations when I was about 7 years old. My father was very involved with his alma mater, and he paid me to stick stamps on their annual fund mailing to their class. And so from when I was a little kid, I saw the benefits that he and my mother got from staying involved with their alma mater. But I didn't really think much about it as a profession. They were volunteers. And then I went to college and went to work in New York City in advertising. Fast forward many years, we had a couple kids. We were living on the West Coast. Our family's on the East Coast. And we wanted to get back East. And I was a freelance copywriter at the time. I thought I should probably get a job with insurance and all of that. And then my alma mater had a job opening in the engagement department that was perfect for me. I had been working with my Chamber of Commerce. I was a sole proprietor. And this job was for managing the entrepreneur network at Cornell University, my alma mater.
Wow.
And like the skies parted and the magic came down and I got the job. They moved us to Ithaca and we got our wish of being close to family. And so I was helping alumni who were entrepreneurs meet people who could help them. So whether they were angel funders or VCs or employees or just, everything as an entrepreneur, what do you need? And so I was putting on a lot of events. And the point of the events was really to bring all these people together, to feature some people who had made it, and then to work the magic in the room so that everyone in those 3 hours would meet who they wanted to meet, who they needed to meet to be successful in their businesses. And a lot of those turned into real appreciation for the university, for that program. We saw people start to volunteer, start to give back money. It was just, engagement with a purpose, which was kind of the first time I'd been exposed to that kind of thinking about gatherings and how the alumni network worked. So, fast forward 20 years and I moved up at Cornell and then worked at Lehigh University as the head of their alumni relations. and really saw not just the business reasons for people connecting, but the social reasons. A lot of people move to a new town and the first thing they do is reach out to their regional clubs, or people coming back to reunions and they see their roommate that they haven't seen in 50 years. And the magic that happens is like, just it's hard to describe. But I wanted to be part of those connections for all the things. And then I just, I was at Lehigh, and I've done a lot of volunteering in the industry for a bunch of different schools. And I thought I really miss being an entrepreneur. I miss working on, for myself, and the time was right. And I made the leap, and here I am a year later.
Wow. That's exciting to see what a trajectory you had, right? And, thinking you were going to stay as a copywriter and do all of that. And then all of a sudden it just, like you said, the skies parted, and it was like light bulb moment, like epiphany, right? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's great. I love that. Sounds kind of like my trajectory. I was going to go into business and marketing, and then things changed and I started working in higher education, and then I went away from it, went back to it, and I'm like, oh, now I just love it. Yeah. So it's like, once you find your niche, it's meant to be.
And these are the things it's really hard to get counseled about that when you're a 19-year-old at college. Like, Jackie, someday you will be an amazing teacher. You're like, well, but I want to do this and this professor, so it is part of the career trajectory that we never expect.
Right. And that really helps when it comes to keeping connected with your alma mater, right? And having that, and connecting with others that are maybe that were in your classes that I remember that person. Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's great. Yeah. So you touched on this a little bit about the alumni engagement piece, how it's being more than just events or newsletters, which I think is so true. And it should be more than that. So for listeners who may be new to this space altogether, how would you define meaningful alumni engagement, and what makes it effective?
So it depends who you ask. It used to be very social. And alumni directors were called friend raisers, and we were known for planning parties. And that's great. And relationships happen. But now it is much more intentional. So even events that are social can be meaningful and intentional. And with resources at universities being cut, as you probably know, left and right, there needs to be a return on investment for the university too. And so when I talk about engagement, you can't see this on the podcast, but I'm making a little thing like where, people come together and they connect with each other, and then back to the university in support of the university's goals. And so when we think about our resources in alumni engagement, yes, there's happy hours and social things, but then there are things like I was describing before where it's networking for career purposes. And the idea is like, yes, you met your funder at an event, or your next professor who you're going to grad school, and now you have this connection. Remember that was your alma mater, and then you give back to and you pay it forward. So that's really meaningful alumni engagement when it is mutually beneficial to the university and the alumni. And I would also say, especially right now, if you read any of the headlines about higher ed, it's really important now, the student success metric. So you're going to school, you're spending 2 to 4 years or more getting your degree. And then it's like the worst job market ever in our lifetime for recent graduates. And so now more than ever, we need the alumni network to help itself. And so I always urge people, if you went to a school, you had a great experience and you want to give back, one of the best things you can do is to connect with students or with other alumni trying to find new careers. And so a lot of universities have invested in platforms and in career services and in alumni relations where that metric is being paid attention to more, of how can alumni help the students and other alums in their careers.
Wow, that's great. I don't think a lot of graduates think of that, right? They think they leave and then they go on and that's it. But there's so much reward to going back and doing that. Like you said, paying it forward. I like that. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it also, you went to school somewhere, how hard it was, the blood, sweat, and tears, that chemistry class was a bear, but you came out of that knowing chemistry. So now you were in a position to hire someone. Now go back to your school and say, I know these are good. These are wise people and smart people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's great.
And I think you look at some of the Ivy Leagues that do this really, really well. It's because from day one, they say, let's hire each other. There is the network in action of, you went to Harvard, you know what they went through, you hire another Harvard grad. And every school can do that. Every alum from every school can do that. I went to this community college. I know, that the people there that went through their business administration they know their statistics. I'm going to hire one of them to do data analysis. Like, everyone can use that model of networking with people they kind of know.
Right. It's almost like hiring from within, right? Instead of looking out, you look in to what you already have. What are your assets that you already have? The people that are already there within the school. I love that idea. Yes, because you can really find great talent if you like you said, they already know the curriculum. They know what it was like to go through it. So why not go into that network of individuals, and instead of looking outward so much, look inside, right?
Yeah,
see what you have. Yeah,
absolutely. And a lot of schools have job boards,
right?
And they use platforms like Handshake for the students, and you can put on there, yes, I'm an alum looking for a student. So there are technologies that help with this too.
Wow. So it's not, you don't have to go the old school route anymore. You can utilize the technology and integrate it and make it a little bit easier for the school and for the students too, and alumni.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. Great. And, we kind of talked about this a little bit, like with the different types of activities that can happen. And so many schools and organizations, they are busy, and busyness can sometimes be a thorn in their side, right? So they're busy doing a lot of activity, but they may still struggle to move people from that interest to real involvement. So from your perspective, what are some practical ways to turn attendance or awareness into that deeper engagement, advocacy, maybe even volunteering or giving back? Like you said, that pay it forward. Hello, I have some exciting news to share with all of my listeners. There is a feature called Fan Mail. What this allows you to do is send me a text message anytime during the episode. There's a link located at the top of the description in each episode, and it says send Jackie a text message. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to send me a message letting me know what you thought about the episode, and if you have any ideas for future episode content as well. I look forward to seeing your text messages. Thank you.
Yeah. So I actually wrote a mini book about this for my colleagues in alumni engagement. And the big premise is, don't worry so much about the kinds of events you're doing. Like, most alumni engagement teams are on the right track. They'll do a reunion. They do a mix of intellectual and, social activities. They bring people back to campus, which is always great. They're doing a lot of the right things. What they are failing to do most of the time is to follow up. So you go to any event, and then what happens? Yay, you went to the event, you attended, and now you've moved on with your life. And so what I say to the staff is, you invited them and they came, and now it's your move to say, hey, I'm so glad you came. What's next for you? What are you going to do? And we see that the more people come, the more it becomes part of their habit and their lifestyle. And they'll get more deeply involved, and you can lead them. Customer journey is maybe a word that some people use in marketing of, you get people to come once and then what? It's like you walk into a Target store, for example, every single aisle is put there for a certain reason. Like there's data science that shows how can we make you buy more and more often when you walk into a Target store. And I'm saying the same kind of thing about alumni. Like you come to one event and then what? How can we get you to get more involved? What is the data in your database showing you about that customer journey of coming to a happy hour? Now what? Okay, now we're going to invite you to reunion. Okay, now you've come to reunion. Now we're going to ask you to volunteer for your class. Okay, now you volunteered. Now we're going to ask you for a gift. And now, like, there's ways, asking people and following up after every interaction you have with them.
Right. So it doesn't just become a bunch of one-time events, but they all connect to each other in meaningful ways. Wow, I love that. And they see that common thread of everything that connects. Wow. That's great, Jennifer. I love that. Because so many times, you just see little events here and there and you're just like, I don't have time for that. I've got this, that, or the other. But if you know that it's part of this bigger ecosystem, I think that really helps. And I'm glad you brought up the customer journey, because that's something that even in instructional design, we do those. We do journey maps. And so we try to understand who the learner is, right? And so it's pretty neat. We take an akin from marketing and we're like, oh, let's use those, but let's use it for educational purposes and training purposes. So it's really neat to see that. Yeah. And then we do another one, it's called an empathy map. And it's where you do what are they thinking, feeling, saying, or doing? So you can even do that too, right? With alumni offices could do that and see what exactly are these alumni and students thinking? What are they feeling, right? And see where the pain points are, and where the successes are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. And we do look at like life stage as well, which I'm sure in instructional design, you look at as someone a beginner, intermediate, advanced, like where are they in their learning? And we look at it, where are they in their life? Do they have kids? Are they grandparents? Are they traveling a lot? Are they super wealthy? Are they going back to school? Like what is their time of life, and what do they want to give back right now?
That's great, because then you're meeting them where they are in their life. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Instead of thinking 5 years down the road, you're thinking, what do they need right now? What's going to help them move forward in their trajectory of their career or in their life, what they want to do. Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Greater sense of purpose. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So as you know, many of my listeners are instructional designers and educators, and we care deeply about building learning communities. That's what we're about. And it sounds like that's what you do as well. You want to build those communities. So what can they learn from alumni engagement strategies when it comes to creating that sense of belonging and long-term connection?
Yeah, I think that what we talked about before is meeting people where they are and continuing to follow up with them. One of the other pieces of a great alumni engagement team is lifelong learning. And so I'm going to shift the question, I think, a little bit to encourage your listeners to explore what your university has for adult learners and lifelong learning. And this is becoming a much bigger industry, if you will, as colleges look to expand their footprints and expand, the students who apply and the kind of things that they teach. And adult learners are different than, the 19-year-old on-campus student. And so, a lot of times it will fall to the alumni office to think about lifelong learners and how do we attract our alumni back, either just for, 1-hour webinars with faculty or degree programs or certificate programs, or, there's a million ways that colleges can offer this lifelong learning to their alumni. And so I always wished I had deeper relationships with some of the people at the universities who were offering the executive education and the graduate degrees and that kind of thing, because alumni, that's why they came there. That's the thing they all have in common, is the education. And so no matter what happens afterwards, that's what they that they love, the fun part. Yes. But also the learning that happened, the intellectual stimulation. And you'll see even at reunions, we'll offer intellectual programming and the alumni eat it up. They love being back in class. I think Stanford actually had something during reunion. I don't know if they do specifically anymore, but classes without quizzes.
Oh, I
by
like
some
that.
of their most popular professors. And so that is the thread. That is what connects us all originally.
Wow, that's great. So it's a way for them to offer that professional development without going through their employer to do it, right? So
Yeah.
I like that. That's great. And they know that they're getting it from tenured professors and those that know the subject really well. So they know they're getting that quality education. Wow, that's great. And it doesn't cost them anything, right? It's already part of being.
Sometimes. If they come back for a graduate degree or certificate, yeah. But if it's the kind of lifelong learning that an alumni office does, webinar would be free, but sometimes there are on-campus things. Travel programs is a big thing in alumni relations where alumni will travel on a tour, a program. And sometimes it's a professor from that college that takes them. Sometimes it's, just a bunch of alums traveling together in a specific program. But again, however they're learning, that's the original thread that people connect through.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. And a lot of, it's nice too, because a lot of employers will offer tuition benefits. So it kind of makes it a little bit of more of an incentive for them to do that. And then if they get an alumni discount on top of that, it's like, ooh, that's great. Yeah. I love that. I'll take advantage of that one. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I even have some students, they recently opened up a graduate certificate so before they just had the master's, and the school I went to, my alma mater, for my second master's, they had both the certificates and the master's that they offered at the same time. And what was really nice about it, Jennifer, is that it was great because they had the certificate embedded in the master's. So it really helped my career because I was able to halfway through get my certificate. And then they had an instructional designer position that opened up in the L&D department at the university. So I was like, ooh, should I try for it? I haven't gotten my master's yet, but I did try for it. And they gave me a deal to finish it up and then I could get the job. So I was like, wow, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have gotten the job.
Nice.
So it's really neat. So a lot of they've got a certificate program, and a lot of people in my department, because I work in a curriculum department. So a lot of them are deciding to get that certificate because it's for free. I'm like, wow, that's great. And now you're going to be alumni now after you're done. Yeah, exactly. So take advantage of the perks, right? Exactly. Yeah, that's wonderful. So I wanted to sneak in a little bonus question because you have worked with colleges, universities, schools, and nonprofits, and even broader alumni networks, which I really love. So across those different settings, what are some of the biggest mistakes organizations make when trying to engage people, and what should they do instead?
So I've already talked about the failing to follow up, just kind of doing all this stuff and then hoping that people will know that you want them to continue to be engaged. I think that's a huge mistake. The other one is data. And, I worked at some pretty fancy universities, and even they have, trouble with the data, just keeping track of people because people are moving so much and not updating their contact info. There's so many things to follow with Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all the things. So not assigning someone on the team to just wake up every day thinking about the alumni engagement data and how you could use it. And the data does tell you a lot of stories. But you need to have somebody that is maybe not to the level of like a data analyst, but someone who is keeping track of it, looking at it, using it to make better business decisions is also really important. And the other thing I would say, this applies more to nonprofits who don't think about, quote, alumni. And I'm starting to work with more and more of them. Everyone thinks the word alumni means school or college. It's how we use it mostly. Right. But, there are like Teach for America has a brilliant alumni program where the people who went and taught for a couple of years, now a lot of those people are becoming politicians and principals and superintendents and people who actually have influence over policies that Teach for America really cares about. And so they keep in touch with their alumni for those reasons, for the networking piece. I just found out the U.S. Olympic team has alumni. So if you competed in the Olympics as an athlete, they've got an alumni network
wow.
that supports. Yeah,
that's
isn't
amazing.
that cool?
Yeah.
I was not an Olympian, at least not in this lifetime, but
me either.
Thanks, Sarah.
That's so cool. I love that. Wow.
Yeah. And so those are examples of people who are doing it right. But a lot of nonprofits, for example, don't even think about like their past clients as alumni. I was just talking to someone from the Boys and Girls Club who benefited from Boys and Girls Club as a kid. And now, they made it. They're now an adult with resources and a family. And I was like, oh, you're a Boys and Girls Club alum. And they hadn't thought of it that way. And their local chapter was not thinking about them as alumni. So I think there's huge opportunity for nonprofits to really think about who are the people you used to serve, who are your former volunteers, who are, parents that, get a summer camp. They have alumni populations. So I think the word alumni, if I could be a brand advocate for the word alumni, I would be, because I think it's a huge untapped market for a lot of nonprofits, even companies like Google and Nike and all the big ones have employee networks where they use them for, again, opening doors and for hiring the boomerang employees and for a lot of other reasons.
Wow. So it's really a good idea to take that word and really expand it and change, have people change their mindset about what it really means to be an alumni. And it's like you said, it's not just school anymore. So that's really great. Kind of as a follow-up to that, I was just thinking about when you were talking about the data, do you think it's beneficial for organizations to even utilize, like tap into technology like generative AI and things like that, and maybe feed some of that in there and see if they can use that to look for patterns and things like that in the data to kind of help maybe alleviate some of that that work maybe a little bit, not necessarily replace what they do, but just help to kind of read the data a little bit more.
Absolutely. And a lot of schools are doing this. A lot of the alumni engagement teams and fundraising teams are using AI for that purpose. And it's, at its best, it's taking the patterns and making the work and the opportunities to connect more relevant to people. So if I've never been to a happy hour in my life, just stop asking me to them. I'm just not going to go. Or if you see that my job just changed, set up triggers where you're sending me congratulations or things. So yeah, at its best, it's the data that's analyzing data in a way that makes things more relevant for the alumni. A lot of schools, and you probably, if you have a AI task force at GCU, I bet they would tell you they're struggling with privacy and, all the things that we've read about AI. So a lot of universities are being very careful on the student and research sides. On the alumni engagement side, again, there's sort of I don't want to say less risky, but it's more defined on that side.
Right. That's true. Yes. Yeah, thankfully they've got, when it comes to our curriculum and student data, I'm glad they're very up on that and making sure that we have a closed system where we're not allowed to put it into ChatGPT. So and hopefully our faculty aren't doing it either. let's hope. But so it's good, and we're trying to help the students to kind of use some of those tools that aren't going to compromise their privacy. So that's always good. Like we have in some of the classes I've been helping to revise, we've especially the capstone, that's where they get a lot of that career readiness. But I always say they should get it all throughout. They shouldn't just get it in that last class, but give it to them throughout. And so a couple of discussion questions that are in some of the classes that they have is where they upload their resume or their CV, and then they get help on that. And so one of the things I mentioned, because I did that one time recently with Claude Opus AI, but I took all my personal information, like my contact information, and I just redacted it before I uploaded it. And I said, we might want to mention that because I don't know if anybody would do that. They might just upload it and go, hey, can you help me? Yeah. So it's always, I agree with you. The privacy is always something that's at the forefront of my mind too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. So Jennifer, as we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you would give to educators, school leaders, and instructional designers like myself who want to create those communities where people see, oh my goodness, where people feel seen, valued, and motivated to stay connected?
Yeah. So I think taking some of the lessons from the alumni engagement network at their own schools, if they look at, their graduate or undergraduate, or their summer camp, or, all the places where they personally have felt like an experience bound them to other people. And even people who went to that summer camp or went to that elementary school 60 years before them or 60 years after them, you have something in common. So thinking about what is the thing that these people have in common and what are those feelings? You were talking about the empathy. Is it nostalgia? Is it gratefulness? Is it, I want to pay it forward? Is it, something that happened at that school or a life moment that you all went through at that school? What are the common jokes? Those kind of things, and mascots and athletics and all the stuff at school or again in your nonprofit that binds people together. And then take those things and start building the community. The other thing I think a lot about is when I am building an alumni network for somebody or rebuilding it, I don't just come and say like, okay, here's the menu. What do you want to do? I build it with people and with volunteers to say, okay, I didn't go to your school or I wasn't in your nonprofit. Tell me, talk to me. What is it that you think people would want? So I'm building it with them, and getting that buy-in, especially from some key volunteers, is really the key to success of building these communities.
Wow. I love that because you're getting them involved in the process. And so they're not just an afterthought, right? So yes, exactly. We do that with, when we create great learning, we look at the very beginning, do that needs assessment and see where are the pain points, but then also what do you love to do? And just what are some things that you want to learn? So I like that. That's great.
Yeah. And the iterative involving them. The iterative process. I'm sure when you're teaching or you're developing this, you might not get it right the first time. And so getting the feedback from people, and you switch up the questions or the case studies or, how the scenarios and the tests that go, So it's very iterative. I think that would probably be the common word.
Yes. And my listeners are familiar with that, especially the ones that are studying instructional design. Yes. How it's very iterative. They have to go back and look at, it's interesting too, because in this capstone, they're having to look back at a previous instructional solution they did. And then they have to critique it, and they have to see what would you change now that you've learned, through several classes, and now you're at the very end of the program. What have you learned? So it's really neat. And then they get to finalize their portfolio and get their artifacts to where they want it and everything, and really polish it. So I'm finishing up the last week of this class. So I'm excited to see more of my students' portfolios and their videos of them presenting as if they're presenting to an employer, right? Or a network or something. That's always exciting.
You could engage a few alumni who are HR at the companies they might be applying to and get them to critique the things too. That's a good use of alumni volunteers.
Absolutely. Yes. And I always say to my students, I give them that opportunity in one of my last announcements in my class. I give them a link to the podcast. And I'm like, if you want to be on it, here you go. Here's the link to my calendar. Book a time with me. And some take me up on it. And I'm like, because that is such a good learning opportunity. And it's a good way to network, because this is, listened to by 95% people in 95 countries now. So I'm like, you're going to get exposure in a good
Yes,
way, right? So it's a way to network, so without them even knowing it. So
you just slide that in.
I'm like, here you go. Yes. And you get to talk about your experience. I had one student that she was like, well, maybe I'll get up the nerve someday to do it. And I'm like, I understand, you're a little nervous. I get that, but just, the only way you'll know is to take the plunge. And,
just
it's like when you go for a job interview, you just never know. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And she'll be among the top 1% of people in her field who've ever done a podcast about her industry. That's
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I'm like,
do it.
Do it. Right. And I said, you can put it on your portfolio, link out to it, and then, your portfolio is going to be unique. It's not going to be like everybody else's. So, and one of my students did do that. I interviewed her at the beginning of the program, and then I interviewed her at the very end after she completed the program. And it was so amazing to actually get her experience on both parts of that spectrum and see how she learned and grew. And a lot of the first one is actually one of my top 5 for the podcast. So it's really great. So I'm trying to get people to listen to the second one. I'm like, listen to both because it's so valuable. You'll get a lot out of it. So it's great. And I know they'll get a lot out of this one too. It'll be great for those that are career changers, right? That want to get into that second career. Great.
Yeah. Well, and I would say too, just one more add on there. There's so many volunteer opportunities through these organizations and institutions that they can make you a little bit famous. If you go back and speak to a class about your profession, or you're on your own universities or your own, other podcasts, or, local TV shows that are hosted by an alumni journalist or something that knows you through something, you get a little famous. And it, like you said, it can, being a writer or a speaker or something through your alumni network can get you great exposure. So
right.
Go for it.
It can be a career changer. In many ways. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know. I love that. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much again for being here and for sharing such thoughtful and practical insights with my listeners. That's what I love about this. It's evergreen. It's never going to change, right? Yes. So I really appreciate your perspective on engagement, belonging, and building those communities that last for years to come. I know this conversation will give educators and instructional designers like myself a lot to think about as they work to create those stronger connections in their own spaces. So for anyone who wants to learn more about you and stay connected, what's the best way to do that?
Check out my website. It's engagedjc.com.
Great. I love that. Wonderful. And I'll make sure to stay connected with you as well. And anytime you want to come back on the show, I always roll out that welcome mat and say you're always welcome to come back. So feel free to
Thank you.
hop on anytime, and we'll have some great conversations. If there's anything that's like, oh, I'd love to share this with Jackie's audience, we can dive deep and do that. Wonderful.
Fabulous. All right. Well, thank you, Jackie. This was a fun conversation. And, I always love talking about engagement with people who know about it, but are still a little new to it. So this was really fun for me. Thank you.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.